Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1228, written by Sock Purple. I remembered a song before it was written. My college roommate worked at the radio station and brought home albums right when they were released, so that he could decide if he wanted to play anything from them and just for the general enjoyment. One album he brought home was Sarah McCallan's Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. Yes, this was a long time ago. We listened together, enjoying it well enough, and when the fifth track, Mary, came on, I sang along as I knew it by heart. My roommate looked at me like I was crazy. Oh, I don't know where it comes from, but I've known this song my whole life. This song was written for that album, just like all the other tracks. It wasn't a cover and had never been released before. It isn't particularly important to me, it's just that I remembered it the same way I could remember the Carole King and Sheena Easton songs my parents played in the 70s, just something I had always known. I'm a skeptic, and this is impossible. I spent some real time trying to find some reference to this track having been written well before the rest of the album and maybe covered or performed elsewhere, but I found no such evidence. It is really unimportant, but just so damn inexplicable. Case notes file 1228. I remembered a song before it was written. These experiences continue to prove to me that the game we perceive to be playing is not in real time. It's rewound from events that have already occurred, at least to some extent. How far ahead reality has already been written or played isn't possible to determine from within the replay that we're experiencing, but far enough ahead in this case to have already experienced this song a few times, enough to have those lyrics embedded into your long-term memory, for them to feel, again, as if you were remembering a song that was in the 70s that you'd listened to probably hundreds of times. It's all up there in your noggin. You just don't realize it until the memory is called upon. Case file number 1229, written by Kangaskassi, Unreal Power of the Eyes. You know that feeling that someone is staring at you? Imagine that, but tenfold, like a group of people was all suddenly staring at your neck. I got that feeling, twice right before something went wrong. I called it the eyes, when talking about it to my friends. First time when I was walking in thick snow with my dogs, and it stopped me in my tracks. My dog didn't stop, and only a few steps ahead, he fell through ice into a body of water I didn't know existed in the area. I still don't know if it was a little river or a pond, because I didn't stay to check. I had a dog to pull out of the water and rush home so he didn't freeze, and when I tried to find the same place in the summer, I couldn't find any water where I thought I had been. The second time, I got that feeling in a forest again, but ignored it. The ground gave away under my leg, and my leg got momentarily trapped in some kind of animal tunnel. I twisted my ankle real good and had to hop home while using a big tree branch as a cane, but was fine in the end. I have gotten the feeling since, and I just bolt out of the situation now. I don't know if my animal instincts are just on point when it comes to the ground under my feet, if it's sturdy or not, but that feeling of being stared at is horrifying, and it just feels very unexplainable to have known something was about to go bad just before it did. Case notes file 1229. The Unreal Power of the Eyes. I think this is another instance of future knowledge continuously gobbled up by your subconscious mind, fed to your conscious in the form and feeling of the eyes as you described. Or I think how most people would describe it, spidey senses. I have it too. Not to the extent you described, but it saved me from external harrowing events here and there. I remember one time walking near downtown Montreal listening to a podcast. Somewhat late at night, but there was still light out. I was looking straight ahead, mostly slightly down, but not paying much attention to my surroundings or anything above me. Then I stopped walking. No reason to. I just stopped. I knew it was like I wasn't even in control of my body in a certain sense. And a few seconds later, a somewhat thin, probably IKEA shelf board fell down on the sidewalk. I think probably from like a bookcase or something. It wasn't too long, but it was notable. Around where I would have been if I had continued walking. No idea what apartment it was from, too high up to see it. I doubt it would have killed me, but it would have left a nasty bruise or scar, maybe a concussion. Just goes to show you that what's going on inside here is more than we are consciously aware of. sentience that we experience is a tiny little sliver of nothing compared to the total ocean going on in there. So never underestimate your subconscious. Case file number 1230, written by sdforbda, the Chiropractic Guardian Angel. I had graduated high school and moved back to where I grew up as a young child. Moved in with my grandma. I had been visiting a chiropractor where I had lived previously due to injuries and whatnot. Anyways, I had been telling my grandma that I needed to find a chiropractor in that area as my back was giving me issues. Too much powerlifting without proper instruction, and wrestling had done a number on it as well. The first weekend that I was there, we went to the grocery store to get some food. In one aisle, a lady started talking to me like we already knew each other. I wondered for a little bit if it wasn't somebody from the church that I had attended as a child. She told me never to go to the chiropractor. When I asked her about it, she told me that their adjustments can go wrong, and there was a young man that she knew that died after having his spinal adjustment. Not going to lie, freaked me out a little bit because I had a spinal adjustment that actually allowed me to continue to play. But yeah, this lady continued to tell me about how people have died after chiropractic adjustments. There was no lead up to this conversation other than her saying that he looked athletic and might consider it. The second the conversation ended, my grandma walked back up to me and asked what I was doing. I told her I had just been talking to the lady right there, and how funny it was that she walked up to me talking about chiropractors after I had just told her an hour ago I needed to find one. My grandma asked what lady I was talking about because she never saw me talking to one as I was perusing the items on that aisle. I turned to point her out, but she wasn't there. I don't know if the conversation with my grandmother lasted longer than I thought or what, but the old lady was gone. Case notes file 1230, the Chiropractic Guardian Angel. So chiropractic medicine always intrigued me. There's a certain logic to it. The idea that if you alter the orientation or pressure in the spine, it can relieve or even cure other maladies. But that said, the spine is not something I mess with without rigorous study. The logic, of course, is in how vital the spine is to the function of the human body. There's no doubt about that fact. But I don't want anyone messing with my spine if it can be avoided. If you do need some sort of spinal treatment or surgery, well, best see a trained surgeon for that, right? Much more expensive, but I'd bet less risky. The Grandma Guardian Angel appears to agree with this assessment. And now time for the fact of the day. Tea time. Since the end of World War II in 1945, all British tanks have been equipped with all the items needed to make tea, including a boiling vessel that heats water. Well yeah, the British love their tea, that's the whole meme. If you need something to sustain yourself, and also a way to treat water, it makes sense to have that, or in this case for me, I'd prefer coffee. Coffee is so much better than tea. I don't even know why people drink tea, to be honest. But it makes sense because you want to make sure the water is disinfected, boil away all the nasties, and then drink dirt water. But okay, to each their own. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.